Hi, my name is Pro Choice. I'm CEO of Rose Inc. That's my label. I just recently started a book, and I'd like to read you a little bit from it. It's funny how I actually came up with the title. Someone asked me when I was in a program, what would you rather be called, Jonathan or John? And I said Choice. But anyway, you know how they have the movie Dear John? Well, my book is titled Dear Vic, and you'll find out why. Chapter 1. I used to think I didn't really want to be called by my name because my mom's first love was named John. Not my father, but the guy she should have been with, the one that got away, before the accident known as my life. Yeah, I was an accident, and sometimes I think I shouldn't have even been born, especially the way I got treated growing up. I was more of a hassle than a come up, so the rap name Pro Choice seemed fitting. It's funny, my mom says she named me after Ozzy Osbourne, whose real name is Jonathan Michael Osborne, and I actually became an artist, just the opposite on the spectrum of music she liked. My mom can't stand rap. It's kinda ironic. Anyway, growing up skateboarding was my escape. Well, that and music. But one day I realized I was never gonna be able to go pro. I didn't have the drive or the balls, so I wasn't gonna be able to make a career out of it. But I wanted to do something I loved. I was sick of working dead-end jobs that weren't giving me any real experience and kinda seemed like a major waste of time. And it's not like I didn't have any real skills or talents, trust me. You showed me something once, and I could probably do it better than you if you gave me a little time. I was a whiz with computers. I was a junior network engineer before I even got out of high school. I could probably be making 100 grand a year if I kept doing that by now. But to me, it's never been about the money. I'll explain that a little bit more later when I go into detail about my father. But anyway, I'd rather make pennies doing what I love than thousands doing what I hate. I feel like if everyone did what they love, the world would be a much better place. When you do what you love, you wake up earlier and you stay up later. Shit, my normal became 2 to 3 days up, sleep for 8 to 10 hours, and then another 2 to 3 days. So I live about 2 to 3 times the length of the average person. Even though most people would just label me as an insomniac, but to each his own. But before I continue off on a tangent, I do that from time to time, let me get back to the point. I was never gonna be a pro skateboarder, but this rapping shit, I could be a pro at this. And I can't remember why. Maybe I thought it was too plain, but I felt like I needed a second part to it. So at first I thought pro life. But then, within a few days of that, I seen a prolific van, which I think was another local artist or DJ. And of course I needed to be original, and also it made me rethink it. And it came to the conclusion that I really wasn't pro-life, because I don't think everyone should be alive, like serial killers or pedophiles, etc. And also, I was doing and dealing drugs at that point, so I thought you should be able to do what you want as far as that. If you want to get high, get high. If you want to trip, trip. If you want to roll, roll, and so on. As long as you're not affecting other people because of your habit, then fuck it. Do you. If you're not stealing or selling yourself or whatnot, then what's the big deal, right? So that was when I chose pro-choice. No man should rule over no man. God should handle the karma. So you can call me pro, you can call me choice, or PC, or peace sizzle, whatever works. Just don't call me John, because I probably won't turn around to it if I'm walking the other way. I thought it was that simple for a long time. There's no one like me on this earth, so don't call me something so unoriginal. But now, I know it's more than all those reasons, even though some of them add to it, and now I know it's because of her. Only she can call me that. I'd trade forever just to hear you say the sound of my name. Just hearing her voice say John removes any insecurities I have about it, but only she can call me that. Everyone else makes it sound weak, insufficient, lacklustrous, all the things I am not, and only I can call her Vic. To everyone else it's Vicky or Victoria, and in all actuality, I'm a biggest, best kept secret. To this day, I feel like God inspired Victoria's Secret to be made because of her. Because deep down she knows no one will ever make her completely happy and complete but me. And every time I try to replace her, I'm haunted and reminded of the same thing. When I see that little VS tag on anyone and everyone but her, I could be rolling face on ecstasy with a supermodel, a celebrity, or even a porn star, and they all tend to have one thing in common: a quick smack to my ego when I go to undress them and realize there's still no Vic. Sure, I usually still go through with it. I mean, all I bag nowadays are 10s. It's hard to say no to a 10, especially if you've been taking care of yourself for about a year trying to stay loyal to the one, when she doesn't even know you're her person yet. Well, maybe she does, maybe you're not clean enough yet, or you're not even in the same category money-wise compared to her new millionaire boyfriend. Sure, I have about 2,000 tracks, 90% of them pretty much professing my love to her, or at least dropping a subliminal or two just to let her know I'm thinking about her daily. But I'm just crazy. I might be crazy in love, but until it's equally reciprocated, I'm just crazy. And yeah, I probably got a bigger discography than any known rapper, and maybe even any artist. But unless I got an elevator in my house, a yacht, a Lambo, and a Porsche, I ain't really shit. I'm just another bum trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. And I say that because that was my hustle for years. I buy 1,000 pack of CDs and case them up for about 15 cents a CD. And I'd say I'm promoting my new CD. I'm trying to get $5 for it. But I'll even take $1 if you don't got it like that. 'Cause I never really cared about the money. I was always kind of scared of money, to tell you the truth, because money was a trigger for me. You see, every day after I lost Vic, or after she stopped talking to me at least, it was like I couldn't even breathe. I think Bruno Mars said it best. It's like she locked me out of heaven. Sure, I could take over hell, have all the money, all the drugs, and all the women, but it couldn't even hold a candle to Vic. I don't even think I could explain it to you if you'd never come in contact with true love. If you have to get a drunk or get high to be with someone, that's not true love. If you could even think about cheating on them, that's not true love. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've already said all I bag is 10s nowadays, but if I can make it right with her, I don't even think I would look at another girl. And if I did, it would only be with her, if she got down like that. I ain't even gonna lie, I'm a nympho, and I used to swing with the best of them. Ecstasy's a hell of a drug, but on some G shit, I feel like I could be completely happy and fulfilled in a monogamous relationship as long as it's with her. And I'm gonna pause right there. I actually just want to stay for the record because I kind of wanted to slip this in. I just didn't edit this part yet. Um, I can be completely happy with her, like, period. Like, I think I'm so insecure that if she needed to be with other people, to be with me too, like, I'd be cool with that, just to be with her. Like, that's how much I love her. That's how sad I am, to tell you the truth. Like, as much as it would break my heart to do with that and deal with that, I would do it just for her, just to make her happy. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, like, I have fun, but I think I know she could make me complete, just her. It's funny, like, I've been studying Muslim, um, the Quran, the Bible, of course, too, but also the Quran, and I know it says you can have like 3, 4 wives, but, you know, if I did that, it'd be like 3 wives and then her. You know, like 1, 2, 3 first and then her. If I married her first, there wouldn't be any other wives. But anyway, let me get back to this. Um, with relationship, as long as it's with her. With everyone else, sure, our bodies connect and maybe even our minds, but never our souls. So it's never enough. Trust me, I've tried to get over her, but you can't replace perfect. And once you've had it, you always find it. What? My bad. That's true too. And once you've had it, you always fiend for it. She makes me want to be a better person. She makes me want to be the perfect person. Sometimes that's a blessing, and sometimes that's a curse. Sometimes it's too big of a burden and I break from all the pressure, and I use it as an excuse to get Blitz out of my mind, or try to get over her by getting under somebody else. But in the end, it's always a waste of time because it's temporary, and she's permanently, always and forever in my mind. Chapter 2. It's funny. I used to be an atheist, meaning I didn't believe in God. Then I was agnostic, meaning I didn't know what to believe. But she made me a believer. Well, her and Angel Dust, but mostly her. Laugh out loud. You see, why I said laugh out loud. Anyway, you see, one day my boy Steve laced my blunt with dust, and it pretty much popped my third eye wide open. I didn't ever really open the Bible too much, but for some reason that day I did, and I read Revelations from beginning to end, and also a Jehovah Witness book called "Is There a Creator?" And for some reason, everything started to make sense, especially the parts that pretty much prove God with math and science. For example, the law of physics that states energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred into other energies, which pretty much backs up everlasting life in its rawest form. And the fact that if the earth was only closer to the sun, we would burn up, or any farther, we would freeze to death. We couldn't recreate the perfect place to have life exist if we tried. That's exactly how I feel about my love for Vic. People can tell me until the end of time to get over her or move on, but when you know, you know. It's weird. We were young when we met, so we've only ever kissed, but to me, that kiss was more magical than any sex I've ever had. I think I got higher from that kiss than any drug I ever took. My biggest regret I've ever had was throwing that all away. Yeah, I can blame it on the alcohol for losing my virginity at 19 to my friend's mom up the street instead of saving it for Vic like I shoulda. Or blame it on the drugs that I started to sell when I was living out of my car because my mom's boyfriend at the time, her first love, John, that she rekindled with after separating from my father, go figure, kept pawning my shit every chance he got. Or even blame it on the disease that's been passed down to me, in which case I have a reason for being so fucked up and making so many mistakes, or come to terms with the fact that that might just be a fabricated excuse we tell ourselves just to get by. I haven't really decided that one, to tell you the truth. You see, we don't live in a black and white world. Well, technically we do, because white is the absence of color and black is every color combined. But without dark, we wouldn't know what light was. Every yin has yang. Every positive has a negative. Shit, everything in existence can be broken down into atoms, which explains that. But what I'm saying is, it's like the world is content in being in Pleasantville. Maybe it's not ready to taste the rainbow. Maybe the people in power killed off all the leprechauns and got really good at hoarding all the gold. I could speak in metaphors all day, but I gotta break it down to a science for you. Because I don't ever want to be misinterpreted again. Yes, I say again because I feel like this is my third life. And before I get persecuted again, yes again, let me just say the truth hurts, but silence hurts more than anything you can ever say. That's a quote from Corduroy's. Who would I be if I kept this all to myself? You see, something else happened that day I got laced with dust. When I came into the realization that Vic was my rib, like Adam and Eve, made from me, especially for me, just like Eve was made for Adam, I felt like I was almost possessed, but in a good way, by Jesus Christ, and also Tupac Amaru Shakur. Yes, I know, send this kid to the loony bin, which they pretty much did right away, but to me, it's kinda crazy. People have been waiting for the Savior to return for about 2,000 years, and when someone claims to be him, they shoot him or lock him up. Maybe the world's not ready for me, but it better get used to me, 'cause the third time's the charm. Now I know you already have a billion questions, so let me break this down like a good teacher before I answer any. First, when I got laced, I was up for 3 days. I didn't eat, sleep, or even drink water. Maybe that was fasting for knowledge. Maybe that was the devil trying to deceive me and trying to convince me that I didn't need food or water or sleep to survive. I can't really answer that yet, but I know if I was the positive, my partner in crime, and one of my best friends at the time, Steve, the one who laced me, was the negative. But like I said, it isn't that simple. Think about our money system, for instance. Our society applauds the rich, but in all actuality, you kind of have to rip people off to make profit. So how is that a good system? This is what the devil, my best friend, was trying to explain to me as I was going through my trials of faith, as I called them. He kept getting angry with me for wasting gas by giving bums rides in the rain in my Eclipse, and so on. But regardless of our differences at the time, we pretty much agreed to disagree. He had my back and I had his. It was almost like I was trying to prove to our Father God that the devil was just misunderstood. I mean, all he was really trying to do was be just like God. So what's wrong with that? Yeah, he might have wanted to take power instead of being granted it, but in the end, the result is kind of the same. I actually kind of felt bad for him most of the time because when he did something amazing, it was simply magic. But when I did, gee golly, it was a miracle. And it was kind of weird because I don't think Steve knew he was a part of my Mecca. I think he was the more possessed. He was the devil's plaything, and I kind of just let Jesus take the wheel. Well, it was more like we were in one of those student driver cars and he just had a brake pedal. And it's not like I had voices in my head or multiple personalities or something. It was kind of like my soul got supercharged or went Super Saiyan or something. Thinking back, it's almost as if when Jesus died for those 3 days before he was resurrected, he showed me the way in the future so I could be his vessel to return to this earth. Let me say that again. Thinking back, it's almost as if when Jesus died for those 3 days before he was resurrected, he showed me the way in the future so I could be his vessel to return to this earth. Or Jesus Christ was white Jesus, Tupac was black Jesus, and I'm Emmanuel since I'm half Portuguese. I'm not here to argue the logistics. I leave that up to God. I can only share my experience, and it's not like I got flashbacks and memories of my previous lives, but I feel like I left enough breadcrumbs to figure it out. And I feel like that was part of God's reward for me being so humble and doing His will so much. God can and will reward you infinitely better than any man, woman, or personal gain. Remember that at the end of the day, if you ever decide to put money over karma. Oh, and I know Tupac and me were alive at the same time at one point, so how does that even make sense in my fairy tale world, right? Well, Pac did say, kill me off and I'll be back in a week, Machiavelli's 7-day theory. So I feel like Pac was looking down from heaven, searching for the right soul to intertwine with, almost like Shazam, and he came across my aura and see it was the same color as his. Almost like I was the same genotype, the same muscle build, the same astrological sign of Virgo. So therefore I pretty much had the same personality for a perfect soul transplant. The only problem was I was white. Well, mostly at least from the waist up. So I almost said laugh out loud again. So I was going to have to deal with racism all over again. Well, reverse racism, as I call it, being a white rapper in a black industry. But I guess those were the God's terms for being reincarnated so quickly. Kind of like Chris Rock's Down to Earth. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's pretty good. Anyway, it's almost like God doesn't want to give us a break. Not like we want one not like we want one because we love what we do. But regardless, no vacation days, homie. We're too good at what we do, and the world's ripe for the picking right now. With the internet age at its prime, knowledge can actually be ciphered before it's distorted. For some reason, that made me think of this jewel. In the Bible, it says, "Thou shalt not kill," but you had to kill a tree, which lives longer than the oldest humans, just to write that rule in the first place, right? Anyway, there are so many misinterpretations and manipulations to God's word. Actually, let me go back on that note. I think, because alright, basically the Quran is supposedly a book straight from God, and inspired and wrote down perfectly from God's word, and the Bible is people that took note or like basically said what was going on and saw God events that God had created and wrote about it, and I think that thou shalt not kill, but you killed a tree just to write a Bible. That's why I feel like, me and Shadi did this for a year. One of my favorite artists on my team. Shadi means stay humble and do you. But anyway, me and Shadi for like a year, I think, we wouldn't put a pen mark on a paper to write a song. Like, we felt like it was more natural and more God inspired to actually just since we have the technology, go in the booth, record 4 bars, come back out, record 4 more bars. You know what I mean? Like, just do it like that, so we never had to kill a tree to write our holy word. But anyway, that was just a little side note. Anyway, where was I? Alright. There are so many misinterpretations and manipulations of God's word that he had to send us back. For example, most people think swearing is bad. But in the Bible, it actually says you can swear for God, just not against God. And let me not even get started on the Illuminati. I love how the world has made them into a bad thing, when originally they were the luminescent ones, or the chosen ones. Dan Brown's Angels and Demons, the book, not the movie, has a good interpretation of them. It explains the originals were a group of alchemists, mathematicians, physicists, and philosophers that actually proved God more so with science. But the Vatican would rather label them devil worshippers instead of admitting their half-truths or inconsistencies. For example, Jesus wasn't nailed to a cross or a lowercase t. It was more of a capital T or a pole with Jesus' name on it, a sign above it. The idolatry that everyone walks around with, and another commandment is that you shouldn't worship idolatry. But everybody was rocking crosses. It's crazy. Anyway, the idolatry that everyone walks around with and worships, even though that's breaking another commandment. Wow, I just side noted my actual note. Anyway, is actually a famous pagan symbol that was used to convert pagans to Christianity easier. And yeah, it's crazy. Let me say it again. The cross was a pagan symbol that was used to convert pagans to Christianity easier. That it's just, oh my god. Anyway, let me not get off sidetrack and side tangent like I normally do. And not only is it idolatry, worshiping an object instead of God, it's almost damn right insulting or even frightening. Imagine if you were Jesus reborn and you were drowned in a sea full of crosses. Why are so many people celebrating my death instead of my life? Is praying to me just to wipe your slate clean the only thing that matters? Well, I got news for you, buddy. God's brownie point system, or karma, is in full effect, whether you're legitimately sorry or not. Don't get me wrong, it's a good place to start, but you can only say sorry so many times and really mean it. And if you truly wanted redemption, you would start making up for your mistakes one day at a time. Anyway, so long story short, Cliff Notes version, it was like I could see the good or bad in everyone, or at least the angels and demons / jinn surrounding them, and what side they were more aligned with. Almost like the game Fable or KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic. I also started filling in the blanks of life's little mysteries. Well, my blanks at least. It was almost as if every time I asked God a question, he would show me with the sign if I looked hard enough. It was definitely a spiritual awakening at its finest. Thinking back, sometimes I wonder if it was all just a big head trip. It seems so surreal, especially the more time that passes by since then. But I guess that's why more prophets have to be inspired as years go by to keep it fresh in our minds. So quick we are to forget of Noah, Moses, Muhammad, and the like. I'm not saying every word from every one of them was perfect or even completely correct, but we're human, we try our best. Anyway, take two. Yeah, anyway, take two. It's funny. Anyway, take three. It came to a point where me and Steve basically took over the town selling weed. Everyone's selling 1.5 grams of regs for $10. So we started selling 2.0 for $10. Plus we had the best hybrids, piffy and sour when it came to exotics, so it was a wrap. So one day, I think somebody snitched on us because we were taking all their clientele. But regardless, we got a call from someone affiliated with the police that we knew, and they warned us that we were about to be raided in a week. So then we decided we had to either stop or move. So we decided to move up to Maine for a while, where his mom lived. And weed's hella abundant up there, but that white girl wasn't. So we figured we'd bring her along instead. But right before we made that trip, I don't know. I got really paranoid for some reason. Maybe it was the fact that I just invested every penny I had in a substance I never sold before. Or maybe it was because I was beginning to question my fallen angel friend. But for some reason, I moved the stash. And it was all downhill from there. Steve started bugging. And he recalls now, or at least some time after that incident, he thought I sniffed up the whole stash because I was up for 3 days and wouldn't eat or sleep. But in my reality, he completely turned on me. He started calling my friends and family and was telling them I was bugging and he was worried about me. And I know from the outside that might seem completely legitimate, but I guess you had to be there to truly understand. I can only pray that God blesses you with a similar spiritual awakening. And I forgive Steve from that completely because I think like I kind of lost trust in him, like God lost trust in the devil, and that was my fault. Like that's why I really originally felt bad for the devil because I felt like if God trusted him enough, then the devil would show him, that he was, you know, an angel still. But anyway, just misunderstood. But I don't know. Anyway, but I guess you had to be there to truly understand. I can only pray that God blesses you with a similar spiritual awakening so you could relate. I'd rather be labeled 730 and tell the truth rather than lie just to be normal. I watched a TED Talk recently about a girl with autism, and she opened my eyes to that. If you're looking for a compliment, you strive to be amazing or extraordinary, not normal. Well, I was one of a kind, alright? A once atheist now thinks he's the new Jesus. And when this all went down, I was like Lecrae, unashamed. I felt like I'd rather be looked down by my peers than looked down by God. So I went around flaunting it, not realizing I was crucified the first time for it, then set up and shot on 2 different occasions the second time. I kept telling my family Earth was my mom and God was my father. I might have had biological parents, but I outgrew them spiritually. I felt really connected to animals, like they knew who I was, and they would protect me at all costs. I didn't even get bit by mosquitoes at one point. But don't get me wrong, we were all God's and Earth's children. I was just at peace because I knew it. And I didn't fear death because I was already back. Anyway, so my family brought me to Waterbury Hospital and then it ended up strapping me down to the bed. And the most fucked up thing about all that is I heard Vicky's voice in the other room next to mine, calling for help. It could have been the devil just fucking with me even more, but it didn't matter at that point. I tried to press the release button on the strap with my teeth. After condemning the staff for putting me on a proverbial cross yet again, I ended up chipping my tooth from biting too hard. And then I officially snapped. Because Vic always said her favorite 2 features of mine were my eyes and my smile. So now that they fuck with one of those, I lost it. All of a sudden, I gained Hulk strength. They say or maybe dust strength, but anyway. They say if God's on your side, you'll have the strength of 12 men. Well, I must have, because right then, I literally broke the strap right off the bed with my bare hands. And I was about to release the other one with my free one to go help Vic, and then a doctor came in with a shot of Haldol, and a few nurses held me down to administer it. What made it even worse is I could see the devil in the doctor's eyes. He knew he had me. He even smiled at me with a mischievous grin right before I closed my eyes. I woke up in Silver Hill a few days later, their expensive rehab in New Canaan. I was still under my mom's insurance at that time, so I got the deluxe treatment. I think it ran about 20 grand a week or so. Who knows how they come up with these figures, but I guess they think they're saving lives and that can be priceless if that's what they were doing. But I feel like in my case, it was just the opposite. That was when I started to feel like the world was really against me. I didn't know who to trust anymore. I was scared to even talk to Vicky on the phone because I thought they might be tapping it. I mean, why wouldn't they tap it? I was Jesus Christ reborn. But the fact was nobody cared. Nobody even gave it a second thought. I was just another crazy. Excuse me. Just another person with bipolar disorder. At least I only got labeled that if I told them what I told the doctors at Waterbury Hospital. I might never got out of there. They even tried to get me to sign a release so they could perform shock therapy on me. Good thing medicine has progressed a lot over the years, or they probably would have just gave me a lobotomy and called it a day. So since then, I've lived in fear of being open. How do you go in an NA meeting or talk to a therapist and drop a bomb like that? In the most recent program I've been in, CVH, Connecticut Valley Hospital, I told my therapist there's just certain things that I can't talk about. The only way I feel comfortable expressing them is through my music, my movies, or in book form. At least then, I couldn't be silenced or locked up with the key in the devil's possession. Sometimes I feel like sometimes I feel like I won't be understood until I'm dead. Sometimes I feel like I will be killed off before I'm understood. So I try to remain the underground king, or the best kept secret. Because as soon as I start catching people's ears, my shit ain't gonna go pop, pop, pop. It's gonna go bang, bang, bang. I'm scared of repercussions, and I'm not scared of me. I'm not scared for me, I'm scared for her. Jesus never had a wife before. And although I feel like I've earned the perfection that is Vic in my past lives alone, I just want to overcompensate so the world doesn't rip us apart. So the world can acknowledge that I put in enough work so I can retire in peace with my one and only. Although sometimes I think she takes advantage of that. Sometimes I feel like she knows that I keep working my balls off until the end of time for her, no matter what, because no one can take her place in my heart. All she has to do is remain silent, because I taught her silence hurts more than anything you can ever say. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. So she knows she got me wrapped around her little finger, and there's nothing I can do about it. You see, I started making music seriously just so I can talk to her, because one day I really fucked up. Well, I fucked up a few times leading up to that fuck up, but regardless, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. But before I dive into all the bad stuff, let me give you the good news. First, to cushion the blows, because otherwise you'd probably stop breathing and say there's no chance in heaven, let alone hell. This dude ain't crazy in love, he's just crazy. I remember the first time I seen Vic. It's crazy, I usually don't remember all my firsts when I'm in a relationship, first kiss, first Valentine's Day, etc. But with Vic, I pretty much remember them all, and they're not hazy. I can run them back in my mind like scenes from my favorite movies. It's almost as if I was living in those moments in slow motion. Anyway, the first time I seen Vic, she was actually chilling with some of my skate crew, G Money and Lair Bear, aka Toxic, which we'll get to later, but I couldn't even approach her. She was that intimidating. I literally had to look her up on MySpace after I got, MySpace back in the day. I graduated high school in 2005. I was a senior, and Vicky was a freshman. But anyway, 411. I got the 411 from Tox, and I fell in love at first click. I would say sight, but Vic is too much. I would say I fell in love at first click. I would say sight, but Vic is so much more dimensional than that. She's the deepest and most sincere person I know. I literally hang on every quote or song or show/movie that she posts about. I sound like an addict, and it's because I am. Nah, but really though, it's like all her favorites become my favorites. And every time I watch a sappy romantic movie, I think about me and her. Or even a song, like, for real, that Bruno Mars joint about being